I'm Brooks Johnson with Minnesota Bow Hunters Inc., MBI. Got an email this morning from a guy that lives in South Dakota, hunts in Minnesota, and fully understands the problems that we're experiencing with DNR, with the deer management here in the state of Minnesota. Fresh off the latest smoky backroom deal the DNR struck on Mille Lacs, I have to ask, now do we have a problem? I can't help but look at the 2017 transparency scorecard and see a complete failure. Hunting was successfully culled from the deer plan. The current written deer plan, the plan writing process we have going on, the DNR has already stated hunting will not be mentioned in the deer plan. If you're a deer hunter, this should concern you because currently deer hunting funds deer management in the state of Minnesota, yet deer hunting is not going to be mentioned in the current deer plan. So hunting was successfully scuttled from the deer plan. The January deer hunt in southeast Minnesota was rammed home without a peep. While this process is going on, nobody from the southeast part of the state knew that the DNR was planning a January deer hunt. They have their reasons, and that's great, but you would think when we have a deer planning process going on that somebody would form deer hunting interest in the southern part of the state, that we were going to hunt deer there in January to reduce the deer numbers. Didn't happen. DNR planned it all without any public input from anybody. Maybe from ag they got some input, but they didn't get any input from the hunters on this. Now we've only discovered Mille Lacs Gate because of a leak. The state has secretly negotiated a 3-year deal between the tribes that have tribal fishing rights in the Mille Lacs area and the state. This deal was never going to be released to the public. Governor Dayton told everybody, do not share this information with anybody. Mille Lacs should be considered a public resource for the people of Minnesota. Governor Dayton told the commissioner and everybody else, don't share this plan. This plan should not be released to anybody except those that are in the decision-making process, which is the governor himself and the tribes. That should be disturbing if you're a fisherman, but it should also be disturbing if you're a deer hunter. And when we get towards the end of the letter here, I'll tell you why. Who's going to stand up and push back? Our sportsman organizations are taking it like a victim who won't leave an abuser, and the elected are completely asleep at the wheel. The DNR is operating in more secrecy than a papal conclave. I can leave the religious stuff out of it, but the point he's making is that the deer groups in the state of Minnesota that are at the table for the deer planning process are going to do absolutely nothing to stop the same thing to happening in deer hunting in Minnesota. MDHA, if you're an MDHA member, and there's 13,000 of them, you should be asking your chapter presidents and vice presidents why MDHA is not legitimately, I'm not talking just a quote in a press release, I'm not talking a quote in the newspaper, I'm not talking a radio interview. Why is MDHA not legitimately challenging some of these things that the DNR is doing to the deer hunting public of Minnesota and trying to represent us as dues-paying sportsmen? I'm an MDHA member. I don't feel I'm being represented. QDMA has told, corporate QDMA will come right out and say, if you're a member of corporate QDMA, don't count on any support from them to change anything deer-related in the state of Minnesota, because they have openly said they will not criticize state wildlife agencies. They won't do it. They will not disagree with anything state wildlife agencies do. If the Minnesota DNR says it's going to be so, state QDMA is going to go, yay rah, it is so. That's the corporate mission. That's the way it is. That if you don't like it, it is what it is, but that's the way it is. Are we relegated to waiting for another plume of white smoke from DNR headquarters to find out what the next bull is going to be? The DNR needs some checks and balances. We have sent lots of checks. Where's the balance? And this brings up a very important point. A lot of people don't realize that our DNR, they think it's all wildlife professionals that are making wildlife biology-based decisions. That's not the way it works anymore. These are political decisions that are being made. And how it works is the governor, the elected governor, appoints a commissioner who tells, that's his layer of insulation, he tells the DNR and fisheries and deer management what to do. So the governor gets into office through the help of lobbies and political action committees that donate money to him to get him into office. Then when he gets in office, he appoints the commissioner, who's his layer of insulation between decisions that the DNR makes and him. That commissioner tells the DNR what to do. On Lake Mille Lacs, The commissioner fully knew what was going on. Dayton knew what was going on. And Don Pereira was the only guy that signed the bill up there that negotiated a 3-year deal between the tribes and the state. That information was never to be released to the public. The group of people that orchestrated that is the exact same group of people that are responsible for the deer plan in the state of Minnesota. And if they feel they can do that unchecked with the fisheries, why would deer management be any different? Bottom line is, deer management in the future will be decided by financed and motivated private interests that donate money to political organizations to get these decisions made to dictate policy. Sadly, the deer hunters of Minnesota do not have a financed and motivated interest. The closest thing we have is MDHA. And if you follow what they do, my opinion is it's not very impressive. They are not truly representing deer hunting interests of Minnesota. They are representing interests within their own organization. And you talk about cozy relationships, MDHA and the DNR are way too close for my liking. So the general takeaway from this whole thing is, look at what happened on Mille Lacs. A secret deal was struck with a private interest group that would dictate policy in Minnesota. Now, they were never going to release that information to the rest of us until there was a leak within the organization. The exact same things are going to happen behind the scenes for deer management in Minnesota. Ag, forestry, and auto insurance, powerful, financially motivated private interest groups are going to dictate policy in Minnesota the same way that they're doing it on Lake Mille Lacs. If you're a deer hunter in Minnesota, this should be disturbing. How do you fix it? You have to change the whole organization. Our DNR needs some accountability, some transparency, some oversight. The odds of that coming within the next decade are about this big. About that big. So just so you know, that's the way the system works. And the odds of fixing it in our generation are very, very difficult. That's pretty long.